Quick video on production, which is the campaign reinforcement system. Apart from the units you have on the board, you also have units that are designated 1805 force pool, and these are placed in your force pool on the force pool display. You can make them up in any denominations you want, as long as they don't exceed the totals. Any units that are on the board, if you lose them, they immediately go to your force pool, unless of course they're captured, where they go into prisons and special rules. Production takes place every turn. You roll a dice, and if you get a 5 or less, you get 1 production point for each production city in your country. Production cities are standard, which are red. Black, like these, it can only be used to purchase landwehr. And blue, which are used to produce naval units. If you want to produce anything, the units are deployed onto the board at a production city, with up to a maximum of 4 in any one city. You can't produce anything if any enemy occupy your cities. Different types of unit cost different amounts. Transports and naval warships cost 5 points, guard cavalry 3 points, infantry and standard cavalry 2, Cossacks and regular infantry 1, landwehr, militia and partisans cost a half. There's a special rule for Napoleon. If Napoleon is in Paris on January or July turn, you can increase your production die roll by 3 points. During your production phase, any leaders that you have in your production pool, you can deploy them freely at any city inside the nation's border, so it doesn't actually have to be a production city. Any city will do. Production points cannot be accumulated. If you've got any left over at the end of a production phase, they are lost. Production of miners, if a miner is neutral, it doesn't get any production at all, unlike a neutral major power, which can continue drawing units from its force pool until the force pool is expended. Another thing, the units available in the force pool for miners, you can only use the ones that are for your particular state. So for Saxony, there's French and Prussian counters. You can't use both, you can only use the one that is specific to your major power group. There are special rules for Spanish and Portuguese production once they're invaded by France. This is because it's totally different. There's like a guerrilla war that takes place on the peninsula. I'm not going to go into that. It's very complicated and it's very situational. There's some special rules for English production, in the fact England is the only nation that can actually accumulate production points. So that's the exception to a rule I mentioned before. And it can also donate production points up to 5 a turn to another nation that it's allied, another major power that it's allied with. England also has the ability to produce naval units using naval production points, but as I've mentioned in another video, you can use standard production points as well for navy. It's just that you can't use a naval production point to produce a non-naval unit. France has a slight exception, that it can accumulate naval production points. It can't accumulate any other type. In this case, any standard production point can be accumulated to buy naval units if there are any available in the force pool. I've already mentioned Landwehr, where the production cities are black. These production cities do not exist until Austria and Prussia have been conquered, and they can only be used to produce Landwehr, and Landwehr can only be deployed at these cities.